That's it. I must step out of this zone and step into another one because it's just not working. And, you have to think financially, of course. And then that's the other thing, which is brave, because you start messing with your identity, your ego, because when from one day to the next, you're a senior director, and after that, you are jobless. And this is a choice you've taken. So you better live up to it. Even if you voluntarily decide to leave a job and do something else, there's a process that you have to go through to get yourself in the new mindset. And that in itself has all the elements of age, the elements of, what people will think about me. That's a big one. When I show up at events, when we used to go to events, how am I going to introduce myself? These things, I didn't update my LinkedIn profile until about 6 months afterwards. I left my old job title. Simple things like that, they're difficult to do.
Hey, I'm Julia Lopez, communication architect, international speaker, author of Leading in High Heels, and your host. Welcome to Brave, Bold, and Brilliant podcast. Together with my guests, I will share with you inspiring stories where being brave and bold were the trigger to becoming brilliant. For the past decade, I've been helping professionals to express themselves with clarity and confidence in any stage and arena of their lives. Communication is key to success, and stories have the potential to transform lives and move people into action. There is someone, somewhere, who needs to hear exactly what you have to say. Be brave, bold, and brilliant, and speak up unapologetically. Allisha, it's such a pleasure to have you here today for this Brave, Bold, and Brilliant episode of this podcast, because we have been crossing our paths in the social media so many times. We kind of navigate in the same environments. We see each other, we see posts, but we never got this opportunity to really talk to each other. And for the audience out there, just a brief on who Allisha is, because I will allow her to share her story with you, is that she comes from a classic and academic corporate path. But through that, she found the power of helping others to become the leader they can be and be in charge of their own lives. So, and she moved away from that, and now she has been helping corporate people and entrepreneurs to find your quote here, your tagline is to build their career and life design. Be, lead, and live. Allisha, back to you. Share your story and your moments where you had to take brave and bold actions in order to become brilliant.
Oh, thank you so much, Julia, for that introduction. It is indeed a pleasure to be here with you. As we say, we cross so many paths, and, we never get a chance to actually speak and have a deep conversation about each other. So thank you. My journey started really, what you just read was just the last 20 years. But before that, I come from the Caribbean. So it's really a place where you grow up in a strong knit family. You don't know what the world is like. It's a small place, but I always had dreams. From the time I was 8, I was always thinking about what's out there, and I always fantasized, and somehow my fantasies always came true. And I believe in that your dreams, everything you can visualize, you can realize if it really comes from a place, and I didn't know this back then, if it really comes from a place deep within you. And, I proceeded to, I think, one of the most, I wouldn't say brave, bold, or brilliant, but maybe all three things that I acquired was to really follow my academic path and achieve a PhD, which was something. First, going to university was a rare thing in my family, in my extended family. And then even going further to achieve a PhD was, I see so many of my cousins and friends after that follow me. I feel, heartfelt that I did something that they could follow. And I was doing it because I thought, why not? There was no real passion driving me. But that led to a whole new world of opportunities. So I really believe in education, and that can give us the stepping stone to be brave, as you say, to be bold, and to test our brilliance. So I think that was one of the key things for me in stepping out into the big wide world.
That's amazing. And so when did you you said you're from the Caribbean and you moved to where? You studied in Europe or you moved where did you
Yeah,
move to?
so again, as I mentioned, my PhD, that's where I had the opportunity to have an exchange program at the end of my PhD in Toronto, Canada. And there I met my husband, who is German.
There's always a
And
love story.
I don't know who followed who, but we came back here in Belgium. So we live in Brussels. And that was 22 years, end of 98, that I moved to Europe. So
Mm.
people ask me, how can you leave a lovely Caribbean island, Trinidad, and come here in this awful weather? And I'm like, I love, this was one of my fantasies and I'm living it. So this is also home as much as I love my country. So
That's
that's
awesome.
a little bit of the love story behind my life.
And from what you gave me here about your corporate career, you got very much into the leadership part and helping others, and in the higher level, top consultants to go through transformation. And leadership is my favorite topic.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote the book Leading High Heels
Yes.
because I also many years ago I understood it's all about is self-leadership, right? We have to learn how to lead ourselves in order to lead others. Share us a little bit about that path as you are a woman in this corporate environment and your experiences. What do you experience there? What were the challenges that you faced in this path?
Yeah. I think after my academic career, which you mentioned, I was lecturing at the university and so on. This was, for me, that was easy. I didn't feel any particular challenges. The first time you present, you lecture in front of people, it's kind of intimidating, but then you realize you know more than them. So you should be comfortable. But when I did move to Brussels, that's where some of the real challenges start. First, I had to land a job, and the language barrier was a big thing. So my target was to go to companies that accepted English speakers. You didn't need a second language, and I was happy to join the big corporation GSK back then. And there, I would say, I think Brussels is such a great place. I didn't sense any sense of racism or felt inferior, although I had colleagues who came from other countries and felt that way. So my point being, I think it's about us also, how we look at life. We can pick up on little signals and say this person is saying this about me or the other, but actually it's the way we choose to steer our lives and our careers. And so I took the confident, bold approach, learning, listening, speaking up when it was necessary and really going with the flow. And when it was time for promotions, I spoke up. I knew what I was aiming for. I worked hard. There were failures, like in everything we do, but there were also a lot of successes. And I think that journey, I spent most of my corporate career with that company. And then when I went to other companies, that's when I realized I've reached my ceiling that I set. It's not that I couldn't go higher, but my something else was being triggered in me. And that's where you realize that the true leadership comes from within and your own passion. We can thrive for bigger things. The world is there for us, but it's what we want. And finding that out usually takes a crisis.
Absolutely. I always say, when we are happy, we are happy. We are not
Exactly.
really analyzing the reasons of this happiness. We're
Exactly.
just living the moment. Is when we are there in crisis that we say, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
How did I get here? Right?
So that's the classic awakening that we talk about. Yeah, and that happened to me at the end of 2018. So I had a brilliant career, no complaints. But I was in this new job with a big agency in London, and somehow it was not clicking for me. And I actually remember the day I wrote to my boss, I called her and I said, it's not working. And she's like, why? I don't understand it. And I said, it's nothing about the business. It's about me. So I quit the next day, and I didn't have a clue. Well, kind of. I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how I was going to do it. And yeah, that was the brave part for me. The brave part was, it was really resigning from a brilliant career to follow a path that was pulling me. And I had no idea how I was going to, I had no roadmap. So that was, I think, a brave move, if that classifies for you.
I can believe, because we, especially when you build a corporate career and you use very well the word a roadmap. There's always a roadmap. There's always a strategy. There's always a structure around you, even if it changes along the way. But there's always something there. And the entrepreneurship is a completely different world. You kind of go with the flow. You have to have a roadmap, but it's not, there's no really this infrastructure around you when you get started. But before you change in there, for sure, this it's not working didn't happen from one day to another. How was your process? Was it a long process, or it could be like even a short process, but we know that it's not from one day to another?
Yeah, I think it was about 3 years for me. I was still performing well. I was still doing well. I was still supporting people in their development. I was still delivering on my, my goals. But I wasn't feeling the love. There was no passion. So it's like you're doing something, but you're dragging your feet. You might be successful, but something is missing, the joy. It's hard to describe, really. And I think that's when we speak about passion and loving what you do. It doesn't mean that I didn't love what I did before. It just meant that it was time for something else.
You changed it.
Yeah.
And the flame was not there.
Yeah. So you need to rekindle and find something else. And this I think was a process for about 3 years before I decided, okay, that's it. I must step out of this zone and step into another one, because it's just not working. And, you have to think financially, of course. And then that's the other thing, which is brave, because you start messing with your identity. your ego, because when from one day to the next you're a senior director, and after that you are jobless, and this is a choice you've taken, so you better live up to it.
And I would love to make a break there because you said something very important. I was just in my mastermind group before, and we were talking about this, exactly
Yeah.
this. You said one day you are senior director, and the next day you're jobless. Where in what we have to learn is one day you are Allisha, who is senior director, and the next day she is Allisha. And we
Exactly.
lose our identity when we have titles, because we were talking about, my background is architecture. I've been trained as an architect. And when I went to my own process, and I say I'm glad that it was in my early 20s, so it's far behind.
Yeah.
I didn't get to my 50s and then have this crisis. But this is something that I would love to explore a little bit with you, because especially now with the situation we are living right now, we know, and I posted the other day, that companies are making people redundant, firing people, and women, again, we are more affected, and many women super qualified are now sent back home. And also because the age, because when you reach certain senior level, you're already in certain age group.
Yeah.
And also told that they are not capital for the market. They, and I'm sure, like I'm being bold here with you, that you had probably this thought in your mind: now my age, what am I going to do? And I would like you to talk about a little bit about this, because I believe there are many women out there that are facing this situation, that they are about to lose their job, or even they are, and things changes and they are not happy, but they feel like that, oh my God, can I still do something because of my age?
Yeah. So I think going back to the identity just before I touch on the subject of age, it's even if you voluntarily decide to leave a job and do something else, there's a process that you have to go through to get yourself in the new mindset. And that in itself has all the elements of age, the elements of, what people will think about me. That's a big one. When I show up at events, when we used to go to events, how am I going to introduce myself? These things, I didn't update my LinkedIn profile until about 6 months afterwards. I left my old job title. Simple things like that, they're difficult to do. And you need the support of family, friends, and coaches, of course, work best. And mentors work best for that. I had a coach. And the age thing, I think I'm seeing it now as a career coach. I'm seeing it more and more where we actually let it become a problem. And what I try to work with my clients, both men and women, is more think of all the skills, the expertise, the strengths, your whole experience, and that is your power. But because the hit is so hard, they forget about everything that they have within them. And that's only the tangible stuff. You have all the intuition, you have all the knowledge, all the experience. People want to go back and do another degree because they think it's their age. But it's all about how you bring that to your next employer or to a business that you want to start. And that is where the secret is, I think. Of course, there might be age factors, companies hiring philosophies and so on, but that you cannot control. But what you can control is what is coming from within you.
That's a very good point. And I like that you put this. There are the things that you can control, and there are things you cannot. And the ones you cannot, you have to see how much I can find ways to to navigate on that, but let's focus on what I can do and control in this moment in time, because especially us, the ladies, we tend to keep going around,
Yes.
around.
I told you how long it took me.
And not taking the decision.
Yes.
And especially now, in this moment in time, in this environment, because we were all forced here now, right? Even if in the past you say, okay, I don't like the environment, the online environment is not for me, you could still be away from it pretty much, but now you can't. You have to be here. And I say, like, everything that happens here expands in literally and metaphorically, because we are here too close in a way, right? And it also expands that you can reach globally. And that require other skills and engagement in the different dynamics, etc. But one thing for sure is that this space moves faster.
Yes.
The virtual
definitely
space moves faster. And one thing that I see for my clients as well, like if you were transitioning, you would have to open your mind that things, you cannot really elaborate things that much before taking action. You have to go tweaking as you go. You have an idea, you have something, this is good enough to keep moving. And then you go tweaking until you reach a certain level.
Yeah.
Do you find this as a challenge, or was a challenge for you, or do you find this as a challenge for your clients?
It's interesting that you came up with this because it is an agile approach that we have to take. And I have a few clients, not a lot, of much younger people who would like to do their career plan. And they think it's a solid pathway. And the first thing I have to tell them is that, you have to think that, okay, this is where you want to go, but maybe, like Google Maps, you have to take some detours. You have to change. And it is an agile approach. For myself, I think the biggest challenge there is being an academic. I usually, especially a PhD, I don't know if it's an innate thing or because of your having done those studies, everything has to be justified through research and numbers. And initially, I hesitated a lot to put things out there without any backing. I needed the literature, and while I was training to be a career coach and so on, everything had to be like ABC in an order. And I struggled a lot, excuse me, and I still struggle with that. But I have grown. And like next week, I'm launching a live career event on via LinkedIn. But before, I would have had everything, really mapped out what I'm going to talk about here and there. And now, okay, I know where I'm going, but I trust myself. I trust the knowledge, the training I have, the skills I have, and I trust the people that are going to be there are also going to be part of that discussion. And that building that trust in myself, I think that, especially when you're alone as an entrepreneur, it's so important, because we can only prepare so much. And I still prepare, but I don't go to the extreme. The perfectionism thing is a bit gradually going away.
The thing that you said, the magic word there that I abolish. I really, for all my students and clients and people who listen to me, they know I repeat this over and over, because I always say, just take this word away from your vocabulary, because perfectionism does not exist and leads to procrastination because you're never ready. And what I do believe exists is that we can do the best we can with the resources we have in that moment in time. Of
Yeah.
course, if in the future we look back, you could say, oh, I could have done this a little bit better. But it's the future. You have learned a little bit more and you have more resources. But if you're really true to yourself in that moment in time, you say, I'm doing my best with everything I have here. You have no reason to be disappointed or feeling I failed. No, I just did my best with what I have, and I really realized that I need more. And another thing that I want to add to what you said there in the preparation, because that's my field, helping others
Yeah.
to prepare, to communicate, and that preparation is key. But exactly what you say, you prepare until you internalize it and you don't need it anymore, because
Exactly.
then you have it in your bones, and then you're able to connect, and you're able, because you're so prepared, but you're not from your head. If it's from your heart, you know it, you own it, and then you're able to listen to others and really connect with them and build this dynamic. Because what I found with people, most presenters are out there, professionals and presenting, they have all the information they had and they spit out the information to you, their audience. You get overwhelmed, and they don't even have the time to connect with you because they are thinking from their head. They are
Yeah.
delivering from
Yeah.
their head, and it's very clear to see the difference when you have an expert, a professional, delivering from the head, delivering from the heart. And delivering from the heart is the key.
I feel like we are so connected because just before this conversation, Julia, it's one of my goals for the first 6 months of this year to really. I'm doing meditation on trying to connect the cognitive with the heart. Because I work a lot on intention. I believe if I have a good intention and I know where I'm going and I know where I can support people, then whatever I have it within me will come through. But where I struggle is in the
Yeah,
head.
it's your
Uh,
academic side.
I blame it on my academic side, but I think it's also cultural. And it has a lot to do with confidence. I see it when I do interview drills with my clients for jobs. They want to rehearse their answers, and in order for me to help them to speak from a good place, I have to be able to demonstrate that also. And that's why through my clients, I realized I was lacking in that. So that's one area of personal development for me. So maybe we should talk. I see it in my clients when they struggle with interviews. And for me, if I want to support them there, then, I believe that if I'm not demonstrating that, then how can I expect them to, how can I be a role model to them? So when we have group sessions, for example, I really work from a place of trust in myself, knowing that I have a good intention, believing in my strengths and my skills and my expertise. And it all happens beautifully, sometimes even better than when I prepare.
Trust. It's built this
Trust.
trust, no, this trust in yourself. And this is what I have a tagline that I say: you have to find, own, and then you unleash your voice. Because you can find, tap into your voice, but if you don't own it, it's owning this is the important part. It's exactly what you're saying, that you have it, and then you know that you can go out there and share it. Nothing can happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Easier
That's
said than done, but it's that's where the bravery comes from, I believe. The bravery comes from the heart, and the boldness comes from the heart, and I think the
taking
brilliance
action.
and the brilliance can, depending on how we define brilliant, can come from all of you.
Yes. The result of going through the process, right?
Yes.
Yes, it's the same as when you're going on stage, and the real stage of the past that I miss so much is there always this nervousness. And if you think about life situations, it's the same. Every time you are in the moment to give something important, right? It can be on stage, or can be in a meeting, or can as a conversation, whatever it is. There is this anxiety, this nervousness, and the important thing is to learn how to transform that in excitement. And I always say, you always have to get back to yourself and tell yourself that your voice and your message matters. You're there just as a vessel. You're just a vessel. You're there to deliver that to your people, and then shift the focus on your own self, on your own head, because then you're able to connect. Because then you have your message.
That's really the one of the secrets, I think. And something else I learned, I'm also a member of Toastmasters. I saw your journey. You started in Toastmasters many years before me. I think another thing I learned is to stop listening to myself while I speak. Because the more you listen to yourself, the more you edit yourself, and to let it flow. That's why I love conversations like these, because then I can just be myself and let it flow.
Absolutely. It's moving out for the head. It's just
exactly.
talking. It's just, but for that, I don't, like for the ones listening, don't underestimate the preparation. Don't underestimate the process. There, it's a process is needed, but a part of the process also is let it go, as everything in life, right? We learn, we dedicate, we embrace, we internalize, and then we trust, and we let it go. And when we in that stage, it's such a gorgeous experience.
And go back to your intention. Yeah. That's your driving force, your intention. Whatever you say, what's your intention? Who you're trying to inspire? What are you trying to motivate them about? What belief shifts are you trying to make them aware of and help to change in them? And I think if you're able to go with that intention, you need your head on, but you need your heart too.
Yeah, but that's a good one. Back to the intention, because they're also the intention is what gives you the roadmap that you said at the very beginning.
Exactly.
Where do I want to go? What do I want to achieve there? But also, I believe there are two parts of it, which is one is your own personal. When I'm delivering this presentation, when I'm talking to this client, what is my own personal desire of achievement? But there is the collective achievement, and you have to commit to communicate them, drive them to this collective achievement, this collective goal that will fulfill your own personal goal.
Yeah.
So what is your experience in that? That's the way I
think
prepare myself.
Yeah, so that's why as an entrepreneur, it took a while for me to really go back and define my mission, the bigger one. Everything you do has a smaller intention and mission, but your bigger mission. And for me, it's really helping my clients to define and achieve their career aspirations. So it might sound big, but in the end, why am I doing that? And it's really to help them to get to a place where I am now, where you are really passionate about what you're doing. And I'm not talking about going into a journey to find your purpose and calling. That's a different story. But whatever you do, you find that passion in it. And I think that's where people get carried away in different directions. We need to know why we are there. And it's not about, when we work with clients, as you say, we are there to help them. But at the same time, we all have some internal desire that we would like to have fulfilled. And that's usually our mission. That's usually something that we might have missed in our lives that we want to help others with. Money is always a factor, but most of the times the type of work we do, and all coaches, they have good intention, is really to support our clients, because we know what they can do and what their potential is.
This is also why we need coaches.
Exactly.
Because we need others to show other to help us
Exactly.
to expand our own potential, because we do have a lot of blind spots as well. We cannot coach ourselves.
We can try, but it doesn't always work.
And every time we try, for me at least, it doesn't work well. But that's the thing, absolutely. And I found, and the interesting thing is, the whole process, and you hear reading your profile here, and everything you do, this work on that you talk about leadership, and I love what you say: be more, lead more, and live more. And it's a big step in everybody's lives, because again, people tend to think the problem is out there. And Stephen Covey, the one who
Yes,
wrote
yes.
Habits, he always said, when you think the problem is out there, that's the problem. We always have to go back to us, and going back to us needs that we really become humble and vulnerable, and allow to listen to ourselves, and allow to really go into this conversation, in this understanding of this person that maybe you never really looked at.
Yes, and that's that's something that comes through. I mean, career and life coaching. That's why I talk about career and life design. Our careers and lives are so intertwined that we can't really separate one from the other, especially in today's world where we're all working from home. And many people would come and, I need a job. I'm jobless. I need a job. I need a job quickly. Let's work on my resume. Let's work on my interview skills. Help me. What do I apply for? I was like, hold on. There are coaches who would, and I call that career services. So it's things, tangible things. But I take them one step back. And even if that's one session with them, let's do a bit of know thyself, as I call it, your self-discovery process. And usually people, they don't want to go there. And that's the whole thing about being, because before you can lead others in the be, lead, live model that I have, before you can lead others, you better know what's happening in your own space. And that self-discovery is all about everything from your purpose, your calling, your values, even the things, your skills and expertise. We spoke earlier about the older ones not valuing their expertise. They forget, they take it for granted. And all of that, your whole package. And some people just want to look at that from a career dimension. Some people want to look at it holistically. But until my clients get that, I think then the job search becomes easier, because they know themselves. When they go into an interview, they can talk from the heart. Yes. Because they know themselves. And that's one of the, I think, secrets that I would share with every career coach. Before you jump into the resume and whatever else, have the heart-to-heart talk with the person, because they need to discover their being, who they are.
Absolutely. In my programs, I have 3 pillars, and even in different levels, we always touch these 3 pillars. And one is the presentations, which is the crafting or whatever you want to present, and the performance, which is the delivery, you presenting yourself. So the presence is the first one, because it's exactly falls in what you're saying. It's about knowing who you are. And we know that most people they don't have self-awareness. they sometimes even they have a perception of themselves that is completely different from what people, how people see them. So this mismatch can lead to so many troubles and so many, how can I say, lack of achievement, because you're thinking that you're going in one direction, sending a certain message, but you're sending something else. And so important going into this process. But this is the painful one, because this is requiring
That's the painful one, yes.
to look at the mirror. Like there's the mirror exercise. Look at the mirror. Do you know that person? I have a talk which is called The Woman in the Mirror, which I sometimes give this talk. And in fact, I woke up one day and I had this story in my mind. And in a way, it's my story. And it's many people out there story, that there is these moments in life like you have. It's when you look, I use the metaphor of the mirror, that you look at the mirror and you don't recognize the person that you see there.
Yeah. And you know what? To add to that, the world sees us the way we see ourselves. So if you're not seeing your boldness, if you're not seeing your own brilliance and you're not brave, then people wouldn't see that. You have to own that. You have to be able to get that clarity, that confidence about yourself, and then others will start seeing it.
And then you really start enjoying this journey here, what you're doing, whoever you are.
Yeah.
Because also you allow yourself to take that space of being brave and bold.
Exactly.
Oh, this has been so amazing, this conversation, Allisha. And now, final words from you. What do you like people out there, and to help them to get into, to tap into this inner voice and this inner self, and in order to become brave, bold, and brilliant?
Yes, I think we all have the right to figure out and decide how we want to live our lives. And most people would look at other people and they would start comparing. And you know exactly what you want. Everyone knows what they want. It's comparison that kills the joy. And that doesn't mean that you don't aspire for things or achievements that other people may have. But know what you want deep inside. What is the career you want? What is the lifestyle you want? And if you can match those two, I think everything else would fall into place. But I have learned, my message is, comparison is the killer of joy. And if you can embrace other people's successes instead of comparing yourself to them, then you can reach places.
That's amazing. Loved that. Thank you so much for being here with us. And we will keep crossing our paths.
Of course. Thank you so much, Julia. It was lovely. It's a lovely conversation.
Indeed. That's all for today. I hope you got inspired to raise your game and be brave, bold, and brilliant. Make sure you listen to my other podcasts. Stories are great sources of inspiration and transformation. Subscribe. Remember, there is someone somewhere who needs to hear exactly what I shared with you here today. Be generous and spread the word. Give your feedback and help grow this awesome community. Until then, be brave, bold, and brilliant, and speak up unapologetically.